Hello, welcome to our April meal prep club. I actually can't believe it's April. I feel like now the year is flying by. January was slow, and then February till now have just gone by so quickly. Hopefully you can hear me. I have my mic on today. And it's just going to be me today. Megan's not here. Brandon's not here. So I will be monitoring if there's any comments that come in at all throughout this. I think today's is going to be pretty quick because we're making my peanut butter protein bars. So these are so easy to make, and we're going to show you how easy they are to make them today. And I know we've been kind of playing around with the days of the week that we are doing the meal prep club on and the times. We're kind of trying to see what works best for the most people. I thought since it was Easter weekend this weekend that most people would probably be busy on Sunday. I know I was. So didn't want to do it on Sunday, didn't want to bother anyone's Easter weekend. And I thought today, I know it is Easter Monday, but I know a lot of people I know had to work. I had to work. So I thought maybe it would be a good day to do a little bit of meal prep together, and we're going to have a easy meal prep snack by the end of this. So make sure you have all your ingredients on hand. All you need is natural peanut butter, maple syrup or honey, or any liquid sweetener of choice, vanilla extract, ground flaxseed, vanilla protein powder, or collagen if you prefer, or you could also use like an unflavored, or if you have like a peanut butter protein powder, that would also work. And then if you want flaky sea salt for the top, and then just chocolate and either coconut oil and additional peanut butter to mix that. I usually use coconut oil to melt my chocolate, but if you prefer, you can just use peanut butter. So I think we're going to get into it today now. We'll start right at 7:02. I know it's a little bit earlier than we normally do, but I just figure people can always join as we're talking. And if they don't have a chance to join, we're always going to post this live after we're done recording. It will always be easily found on Substack. We'll link it in our newsletter every week. We'll make sure that you can find it. And I always post the recipe on Instagram as well on my stories if you do want to follow along. And if you feel like you have any questions at all throughout this entire thing, just let me know, say it right in the chat box, and let's get started. So first, you need a mixing bowl. So grab your mixing bowl and then grab your peanut butter. We're going to start with peanut butter first. So I usually use natural peanut butter whenever I'm making my peanut butter protein bars because I like using peanut butter that's either just roasted peanuts or just peanuts and salt. Depends if you like it salted or not. I like customizing how much added sugar goes into most of my recipes. So with natural peanut butter, you can do that because there's no sugar already in it. So it honestly does not matter what brand you use. This is just like the store brand. I also have some Kraft Naturals here too. I just didn't know how much was going to be in this. I do recommend in the recipe that you don't use the bottom of the jar because we don't want it to be too dry. I find when you're using natural peanut butter, a lot of the time the oil will separate and a lot of the oil will be in the top, like 3/4 of the peanut butter jar. And then the bottom always tends to be a little bit more dry. I don't know if anyone's ever tried those like little mixers. Apparently they work really well. I probably should get one, but for now, I just recommend we don't want it to be super dry just because it won't hold together how we want it to. So we're going to be using a 3/4 cup of peanut butter. This is going to be the base ingredient in these peanut butter protein bars. So just add that into your mixing cups. And if you're new to the Meal Prep Club, we try to do this every single month. We do it on different days. We usually try to do it on a Monday or a Sunday just to make sure that it is part of people's meal prep. I know we're not doing a full meal prep, but just having one extra staple just shows how easy meal prep can be and how easy it can be incorporated into your life without requiring a lot of time. So we have half a cup there, and then we need the other 1/4 cup. So when I say I don't want it too dry, I'll show you the bottom of this container after I scoop this out. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this part, but see here, this is pretty dry. It's not coming off at all. You want it to be runny enough that it will hold together and add enough moisture in the recipe. That is key to making sure these actually stick together. Okay, next we're gonna add our maple syrup. So I always just use 100% pure maple syrup. I get this one at Costco. It's always a good price. Canadian maple syrup's always good. And if you don't have maple syrup, honey also works great. I just don't recommend using like a pancake syrup that has added sugars or added ingredients. So we're using 4 tablespoons, which is about a quarter cup as well. So you're just gonna mix that right in with the peanut butter. And the cool thing about our meal prep club is that every single month we pick a new recipe. So this month we're making my peanut butter protein bars. Every month we try to change it up. Some months we do some breakfast, months we do lunches. Last month we did my pesto chicken pasta salad. We really try to change it up to make sure that we're getting a variety of different meal prep options. And the cool thing about this is for the entire month that this recipe is live, all I want you to do is make it at least once. And then you can post a picture of it either in our Substack chat, which I'll link, or just leave a comment on the recipe post on my website. That's all you need to do. You don't even need to say anything if you're doing the Substack chat. You just need to post a picture and you're automatically going to be entered into a giveaway. So every month we partner with a different brand that graciously gives us product to send to one of you. Actually partnering with Manitoba Flax. So this is my favorite flaxseed brand. And if you're new to flaxseed or have any questions about flaxseed at all, just shoot me a message right now. You can also, if you want it to be private, you can always send me a message on Substack or Instagram as well. But flaxseed is an amazing addition to recipes because it adds fiber and omega-3. Omega-3 is the healthy fat that we typically don't get enough of. So you can usually find it in fatty fish as well. And if you aren't eating enough fatty fish, flaxseed is an amazing way to get more of it. And like I said, it's also a great way to add fiber. So we're going to add that into our mix in 1 second. I need to do the vanilla extract first. I'm getting ahead of myself. But we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Sorry, we're getting all over the place. It's 7 o'clock after a long weekend. I feel like my brain's a little tired. I'm wearing my comfy clothes, but that's what I want this to be about. I wanted to make sure that we're able to be together in a little bit more of an informal setting. I know like my reels and videos, like everything looks pretty, but who is Nicole actually? What am I actually like? Does my kitchen get messy? The answer is yes, it definitely does. So we have peanut butter in here, we have maple syrup, we have vanilla extract. We're going to mix this together before we add in our dry ingredients, just because it makes sure the maple syrup and the peanut butter really combine before we're going to add those dry ingredients and it's going to start clumping a little bit more. So if you have a whisk, you can use a whisk. You can also use a spatula. You could use a fork if you wanted or a spoon. Just kind of give it a mix. And this is also where you're going to see if your peanut butter was moist enough. So if it didn't have enough of those oils, it will be kind of hard to mix together. We want it to look like this, like kind of like a very runny cookie dough or a thicker muffin batter. So if you lift it up, it should stay, but you should be easily able to like lift it up with your spatula or your spoon. So we have our liquid ingredients in the bowl. Now we're going to add our dry ingredients. So, like I was saying, the flaxseed. Where can you buy the flaxseed? Manitoba Flax, you have to order it on their website. You can also buy normal flaxseed, like any other brand, in the health food aisle of most grocery stores. So wherever you find like chia seeds or like psyllium husk or organic fruits and vegetables, like the frozen organic fruits and vegetables, that's usually where the health food section of the grocery store is. And that's always where you're going to find all of these seeds. So chia seeds, flaxseed, hemp seed, those types of things. And before I add this, I did want to mention as well, today we are using ground flaxseed. So this Manitoba Flax specifically sells a powdered flaxseed, which is just a very ground flaxseed. So it's so fine that it becomes a powder. Let me show you with a spoon. The reason I use ground flaxseed is because it easily mixes in with the other ingredients and it just becomes like a flour, like oat flour or any other flour. This is what it looks like. So it's very finely ground. And if you can't find ground flaxseed, you can definitely buy whole flaxseed. I recommend like a golden flaxseed. You can store it in the fridge, and then when you're ready to use it, you can just blend it in a Vitamix or a Magic Bullet type blender, or like if you have the same blender as me, I have the Our Place Splendor blender. Just add an equal amount of however much you're adding into the recipe. So for this recipe, we're adding a quarter cup. Add a quarter cup of whole flaxseed into your blender, blend it until it's nice and smooth, and then you're going to have flax powder as well, or ground flaxseed. So for this recipe, we're doing a quarter cup. I need another measuring cup. Okay. So we're doing a quarter cup of the flaxseed. And I do recommend storing flaxseed in the fridge because I store my chia seeds, my flaxseed, and my hemp seed all in the fridge to make sure they're maintaining their freshness. Typically, seeds will start to turn rancid if stored for longer periods in the cupboards. If you're using them pretty quickly, totally fine to leave them in the cupboards, but I usually buy like my chia seeds and my hemp seeds at Costco, so I'm not normally using them as quick as I like to, so I have to store them in the fridge just to keep that freshness. So, quarter cup of ground flaxseed, half a cup of vanilla protein powder. I mentioned this protein powder in my March favorites newsletter that went out last week, I believe. This is my current favorite vanilla protein powder. So this is not sponsored by them at all, but I've been using this one for a while. My favorite protein powder, unfortunately, can't ship directly to Canada anymore. That was Nuzest. So if you are in the United States, I do love Nuzest protein powder as well. But this is an amazing option if you aren't somebody that needs a dairy-free protein powder. So this one is not dairy-free, but it does taste amazing. So it's the perfect protein. Perfect Sports is the brand. Perfect Sports, perfect French vanilla protein. And it's New Zealand whey protein. So if you are somebody that is able to eat dairy, New Zealand whey protein is always my recommendation for a high quality protein. So we're going to add half a cup of this into here. And if, like I said, you can use collagen, you can use unflavored protein if you prefer. Totally up to you. And I buy this one on Amazon, but it's also available at like Popeyes or any like supplement store. I think I've also seen it at Superstore, maybe. I've seen it in a few random places, but I usually buy it on Amazon. So we have our flaxseed, our protein powder, and then we're just going to mix that together. So the base of these bars is really only 5 ingredients. You just have the peanut butter, the maple syrup, vanilla extract, flaxseed, and protein powder. So you're going to see once you start mixing it, it is pretty dry. So like with any of my protein bars or balls, typically the batter or dough is pretty dry and you do need to start mixing it with your hands at a certain point. I do this on purpose because I did not wear good sleeves for this. But I do this on purpose because I find if you make the mixture too moist right off the get-go, they don't harden enough to hold their shape, especially if you are trying to make something like protein bars. If you're making balls, it's a little bit more forgiving, but bars, you want them to be the perfect texture so that when you are cutting them, they're able to actually stay in a bar. So this is what it's gonna look like when you start mixing it. Like it should be able to hold its shape similar to cookie dough. Horrible sleeve choice, Nicole. If anyone has any other questions about this at all, just let me know. Like I said, this is going to be a very quick recipe. We're more than halfway done. So just mix it all together. Make sure that you're getting all the bottom little crumbles in that little mixture. And if there is a time that works better for people, I say this every single month, but if there's a time that works better for people, let me know. Even if you're not watching this live right now and you are watching the recording, leave a comment on the video after and let me know if there is a better time or a better day that works for people, or if there's a recipe you want me to see next month. I don't think we have next month's planned yet. So if you have any suggestions for a recipe that you would like to have in the Meal Prep Club or a brand you'd like to have sponsor the Meal Prep Club, let me know. Okay. So this is what our mixture looks like. You can see not all of it does form into a perfect ball, and that is completely fine because when we press it into the loaf pan, it's gonna become one single solid shape. So now that we have our batter done, time for the loaf pan. So this is a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. This one is a silicone loaf pan. So I always use silicone baking dishware as much as I can because I find, one, it saves parchment paper, so it's better for the environment. And two, it's so much easier to clean. I hate cleaning dishware with the little corners that you can't actually fully clean. So silicone molds, silicone dishware always saves my life. This is the Vita by Paderno brand, I believe, from Canadian Tire. You can also find a bunch of different options on Amazon, but I like this one specifically because it does have a metal or a wire rim around, so it holds its shape instead of being all floppy. It's amazing. If you don't have a silicone option, then all you need is parchment paper. Just make sure you're lining it so that after these harden, they're easier to remove because we are going to add melted chocolate on top. So just add that directly into the little loaf pan, and then we're just going to press it down. If you're finding it's very crumbly, it's totally fine to add in a little bit more peanut butter or a little bit more water. Just means maybe your peanut butter didn't have quite as much oil as we had anticipated. So press this down as much as you can into the loaf pan and try to get it into a single layer. If you have something that you could press it down with, I'm trying to think of something that would fit in a loaf pan. Normally, if I'm doing like a bigger batch, so like a square loaf pan, you could use like a pot or something. I just don't really know what would fit in maybe a book if you want it. Okay, just press that down. And then there we go. So that's probably as good as it's going to get. So it's a single layer. Doesn't matter if it's not completely perfect unless you want it to be. But none of my stuff when I make it for not filming looks perfect, and that's completely fine. So now that you have that, we're going to do our melted chocolate. So just let me wash my hands very quickly. Okay, so for our melted chocolate, I already have 3/4 cups of chocolate chips in this bowl already. Make sure you're using a microwave safe bowl because we will be putting these in the microwave. If you prefer to use a double boiler to melt your chocolate, totally fine. You can definitely do that. I'm going to be using the microwave because it's a little bit faster. So I have 3/4 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can also use dark chocolate chips. You can use milk chocolate chips if you prefer. I just usually have semi-sweet on hand, so that's what we're using. And then we're going to use about 2 teaspoons of coconut oil to melt these. If you prefer, you can also use 2 teaspoons of additional runny peanut butter. So that works just as well to help melt the chocolate and make it nice and smooth. I'm actually at the end of my coconut oil. I need to get more. The reason I use coconut oil is because I like the consistency it gives the chocolate. It makes it very runny, but then it hardens very well when you put them in the fridge. Okay. Okay, so just add that directly to the bowl, and then we're gonna put this in the microwave in 30-second increments. I find that's typically what works best, so I put it in for 30 seconds. I'll stir it up, then I put it in for another 30 seconds, stir it up, then I put it in for usually about 15 more seconds. That's what I find is the sweet spot. Everyone's microwave's a little bit different. Just make sure you are stirring it in between the 30-second increments because you don't want the chocolate to burn. So I'm going to go do that right now. These are some of my favorite recipes. This is one of my favorite recipes I've ever made because they're so easy to make and they honestly taste exactly like chocolate peanut butter cups. Especially if you're using a vanilla protein, I find it adds like the perfect amount of sweetness without adding a ton of extra sugar. And they're just like almost a dessert, but then they each have like each bar has 9 grams of protein. And I think they even have some fiber in too. I haven't memorized the nutrition facts, but yeah, each bar has about 3 grams of fiber, which is amazing for a small bar. Okay, so you can see the coconut oil starting to melt. So we're just going to make sure that's evenly distributed amongst all the chocolate chips, just to make sure they're all getting nice and warm. And then I'm going to pop this back in the microwave. Okay, amazing. Okay, so once we have that, we're just going to pour it directly on top of our peanut butter base, sprinkle it with some flaky sea salt, and then pop these in either the fridge or the freezer. I usually pop them in the freezer just because it hardens a little bit quicker and then I can take them out faster and slice them into bars. But totally optional, totally up to you. Okay. See, now it's getting melted, but it's still not quite runny enough to evenly be able to pour over our peanut butter base. Make sure you give it a good stir though, because sometimes I find it helps distribute the heat, which helps melt the chocolate a little bit more. I also have a variation of these that I actually just posted on Instagram on Friday that are my protein peanut butter cups. So if you're somebody that's looking for more of a dessert, even though it's almost the exact same recipe, it's just shaped like an actual peanut butter cup. So instead of using a loaf pan, I actually use a silicone baking tray. This is the one I use for egg cups because it's shallower, as you can see. This one's from Amazon, but I just put the ingredients in here and then put chocolate on the bottom and the top. So good. Okay, there we go. So this is the exact consistency that we are looking for. We want to make sure that when you stir it, it's completely smooth and you can lift it up and then it just runs right off the spoon. So now we're just going to pour that directly over our peanut butter base. The one thing I find about using a silicone mold is sometimes the edges will come up a little bit more. So just make sure they're all pressed down in an even layer. Okay, pour that chocolate over. If you're looking for a little bit less sugar, you can also, I obviously have a sweet tooth because this is a lot of chocolate, but I like having a nice chocolate layer on the top. If you're looking for a less sweet option, you can definitely just drizzle some chocolate on top, or you can even do this with just like a few chocolate chips in the peanut butter base for next time you make them. They won't be quite the same, but they'll still be pretty good. Okay, there we go. So that's a very even layer. So you can see here, even layer. Could you substitute if you have a peanut allergy? Yes, you definitely can. You can use a seed butter. I think there's a brand, I always forget the name. It's called Healthy Crunch, I believe, and they have a like a mixed seed butter. It's very good and honestly my favorite nut-free option for using in substitutes for baking because it doesn't have quite as much of a distinct flavor as like a sunflower seed butter would have. It's very good. Highly recommend that one. You could also use wow butter if you prefer. Honestly, any seed butter will work. It's just going to maybe slightly alter the taste a little bit. Okay, so we have these. We're going to add some flaky sea salts. Any salt will work. If you don't like the salt and chocolate combination, you do not need to add it. I personally love salt with chocolate. Okay. Make sure I always have a problem with sprinkling things because I feel like I add too much and then things become too salty. But perfect. Now I'm just going to pop these in the freezer. Like I mentioned, you can put them in the fridge. Totally up to you how much time you have. They obviously will harden a little bit quicker in the freezer. All we're looking for is for the chocolate to be completely set and hard because you're not going to be able to slice them until the chocolate's set. Once they're set, then you can take them out of the freezer, take them out of the loaf pan, and then just cut them into about 10 to 12 equal size bars. I believe the recipe on my website, the serving size is 10 bars. So the 9 grams of protein and the 3 grams of fiber will be for cutting this into 10 bars. So just slice it right down the middle and then do 5 across, and you'll have 10 bars. And then you can I personally store these in the freezer. I do find if you store them in the fridge, the chocolate starts to get a little bit softer than I typically want. And they're super easy to grab right out of the freezer. I usually just grab one, and because of the fat in the peanut butter, they don't get like overly hard, so you're not going to break your tooth. I just leave it on the counter for like a minute. You could even put it in the microwave for like 15 seconds, and they're perfect to eat right. No, nothing else required. You don't need to defrost it overnight. Easy to grab, easy for a snack anytime or like a post-dinner treat if you want a little bit of extra protein. I don't typically recommend bringing these for like a work lunch or like a lunch box because the chocolate will start to get a little bit softer. If you are looking for an option for that, just drizzle the chocolate instead of doing an entire layer just because you don't want it to be overly messy. Or you can definitely bring it. Just keep in mind it will be a little bit messier than we typically want. So I'm going to put these in the freezer now, but I don't think there's anything else. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. Make sure, like I said, our April Meal Prep Club recipe of the month is this one. So it's my peanut butter protein bars. I will post the recipe link I don't think I can do it right now just because I don't have anyone helping me, but I will post it on my Instagram story right after this, as well as in our Substack group chat if you prefer to go there. You can just easily click on the link, make the recipe at any point at all during the month of April. And to enter our giveaway with Manitoba Flax, which is a variety pack of their powder, their flaxseed, and I think they have some flax beverages as well that they want to be able to give somebody. To enter that giveaway, all you have to do is snap a picture of the recipe once it's done, post it either in our Substack group chat or just leave a comment on the recipe on my website. Doesn't have to be a good comment, just leave any comment and you'll automatically be entered in our giveaway. Just make sure if you are doing the website version that you're using your correct email address because that will be how we contact you if you are the winner. And then at the end of April, I believe we contact the winners on the 1st. So on May 1st, we will send you an email if you win and we'll get that product sent out to you. Like I said, though, if you have any recommendations for what you want to make next month or any brands you want to see as part of the giveaway, let me know because we definitely want to make that happen. So we have our peanut butter protein bars that only took 28 minutes and it would have been a lot faster if I wasn't talking as much. And that's it. So thank you so much for joining us for our April Meal Prep Club. Thank you for sharing your Monday evening with me. I know it's right after a long weekend. I hope everyone had a lovely Easter, and I hope you have a good rest of your week. Okay, bye everyone.